Okay, and greetings everyone and welcome to my channel, Take Control of Your Health. I'm Dr. Corey Stern. And if this is your first time watching, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you and suggest that you do take a look at all of the videos that I have uploaded on my channel, because all of them are for the sole purpose of helping you to have optimal health and to not be a victim of the bad guys who are making you sicker, weaker, and stupider by poisoning you. And if you are a returning viewer, I want to thank you so much for your support. If you haven't yet had an opportunity to subscribe, you can hit the subscribe button. It's right there on the video. And then a little bell should come up and you hit the bell and select all. And that way, anytime I upload a video, you will receive notification. So I'm very excited today to have a guest on my channel who is an expert on a topic that seems so simple and yet is so complicated. And that topic is water. So I would like to introduce Winston Kao. He is an expert. He's an inventor and a researcher for over 35 years in the field of water, agriculture, nutrition, trace minerals, soil-based microorganisms, and environmental cleanup, specializing in soil, river, lakes, and oceans. And I have known him for a long time, not necessarily personally, but he has been actually a mentor of mine without him really knowing it. He was part of the curriculum and the training that I got to do nutrition. And he has a website that I send many of my patients to. So there's nobody else in the world, I think, that I would trust as much as Winston in relation to water and what we need to know about it. And like when I opened, I said, you know, it should be a simple topic, right? I mean, our body is mostly water. You can't live without water. There's water all over the planet. Everybody drinks water. And yet it has become such a complicated and really important topic. So let me go to Winston. And was there anything you wanted to add to the little intro that I gave, Winston?
No, I'm pretty much ready to roll and introduce the broad subject called water.
Okay, awesome. So I think the first question that people ask me is, what is the best kind of water to drink? Because there's so many choices out there and there's so much incorrect data about water. And so many of my patients are drinking, let's say, alkaline water or reverse osmosis water. And, you know, it's all very confused because people are just getting their information from, you know, different sources that are not necessarily correct. So why don't we start? I was going to say, why don't we start with this? Why can't we drink tap water? What's wrong with our water today?
Well, okay, since you want to narrow it down to tap water, in America, tap water is basically relatively safe to drink. In other words, it won't instantly give you diarrhea. It won't give you dysentery most of the times. Okay? So from a disinfectant standpoint, it's pretty clean. On the other hand, from the disinfectant standpoint, they not just kill the germs in the water, they also kill your probiotics in your gut. Right? It's a disinfectant. It kills things, right? And you're drinking disinfectant. So that would be problem number one. Problem number two begins to be political, as this particular additive is not added to the water for any water property constructiveness. In other words, it doesn't enhance the water, make it better, make it cleaner, make it healthy. It doesn't do any of those. And it's put in there strictly as a drug. You probably are getting a little hint where I'm going. There's only one item that they actually put into the water as a drug, and that is fluoride. And of course, when you administer drug as a physician, you're going to have to judge what sex they have, how old they are, how big are they, what size are they. You know, all of these things should be concerned when you prescribe a drug. But in the case of fluoride, whether you're a baby or 150 years old, you get all the same dosage. It doesn't matter. Okay? So that's problem number one, which is a very, very, very big problem. Okay? Little basic chemistry. What are the three most toxic, most common elements on the planet? It'd be arsenic, would be number one, the most toxic. Number three would be lead. And number two would be fluoride. Now, fluoride versus lead, fluoride and arsenic is way up there, and lead is way down there as far as the level of toxicity. This just gives you a reference point. Let's take a look at standards that the EPA gives for the water. There's something called maximum contamination goal. You know, this is their target, what they like to see. Doesn't mean that's their standard, but this is a standard that they like to achieve. Well, the standard for arsenic, they want to achieve 0. The standard for lead is 0. The standard for fluoride is 4,000 parts per billion, or 4 parts per million, whichever you want to look at it. So what's wrong with this picture, right? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to recognize the three most toxic elements, and one of them is actually okay to have 4 parts per million in the water, okay? This is not conspiracy, this is just raw science, okay? All right, let's back up just a teeny weeny bit. I will come back and touch fluoride again because it's a very big subject. If you have thyroid problems, okay? If you're feeling tired, you're feeling weak, this all relates to fluoride. And you see, it's not just the fluoride issue, but it is what fluoride influences other elements in the water, in your body, which then becomes a really bad thing. So it's a very, not a clean, simple set. But let's go back to this tap water, and I'll pick up fluoride a little later down the road. So what water is the best water to drink? Let's start from there. Now you're going to have people going, well, distilled water is the best water to drink. No, no. Reverse osmosis water is the best water. No, no, no. Alkaline water is the best water to drink. Well, guess what? They're all right. And they're also all wrong. All in the same breath. Let's start with distilled water. I love doing this to other scientists, and it's kind of wicked on my side. I go, all right, so you said distilled water is good for you. So which one of the 4 distilled waters are you talking about? And you get this deer in the headlight look at your face, going, huh? There's only one kind of distilled water. Not really. There are 4 very distinctive different kinds of distilled waters. And guess what? 2 of them are good. 2 of them are bad. Okay. So without getting into really fancy chemistry, I'm just going to keep it real simple. Rainwater, that's distilled water. It evaporates, it goes up into the sky and comes back down. It's low temperature distillation. And before the chemical trails and the industrial pollutions, that was actually one of the better waters. And it's very, very low in mineral content, but it's very soft water. And that distilled water is actually good for you. So the people who have been praising distilled water for centuries, they're still right. Of course, coming down to the 2020, They're not so right because of the pollution that's now in the atmosphere. So that's not true anymore, but it was true, okay? Let's then talk about the other distilled water that's actually detrimental. Now, this is the one that's most commonly used. This is where they use high temperature to boil the water instead of low temperature. And the surface tension is a high surface tension rather than a low surface tension. Right? What is surface tension? Okay, most people get confused. Well, if your water surface tension is kind of nice and high, a spider can run across the water and stay on top of the water because the surface tension will keep the spider floating. You drop one drop of soap in the water and you break the surface tension and the spider will fall into the water. Okay? So that becomes a low surface tension water just by dropping a drop of soap. Okay? Let's kind of give you an illustration. When you see on the leaves, there's little nice bubbles of droplets of water. That's a high surface tension surface for that water. And so basically, when you have high surface tension, high temperature distillation, you're going to end up with a water that has this powerful leaching effect to pull the minerals out of your body. Not a good thing. See, rainwater won't do that. But the high boiling temperature one will do that. And the other one, two that I didn't bother to mention are like laboratory types of distilled waters. They're very hard to get. They do exist. That's all you need to know. Will never hit or impact our lives. Okay, so it's trivia information. So that's on distilled water. So this is why I always tell people, listen, don't drink distilled water. And then people goes, well, I've been drinking distilled water for 50 years or 60 years or whatever length of time, and I'm fine. Wait until they get older. And then one day they try to get out of the chair. And their butt muscles is stronger than their pelvic bone. Snap. They break their own pelvic bone by trying to get out of the chair. They don't get up, fall down to break their pelvic bone. No, it's the other way around. They're trying to get up. And that just the muscles pulling together to get the strength to lift the body is what breaks their pelvic bones. And if you don't believe me, just randomly ask some old age homes. When such and so broke their pelvic bone, did they fall down first or were they trying to stand up first? And you'll watch the wheels turn and they'll go, wow, she was trying to stand up. Then she fell back into the chair. That's what you generally will hear. Right? So that covers distilled water. Now let's get to the next most common water that's drunk in the United States, which is reverse osmosis water. Now, this water has even less minerals than distilled water. Here comes the problem with this reverse osmosis water. Not having much minerals on content, it has a very powerful leaching effect. So it can thin your bones down. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes 10, 20, 30 years to actually thin your bone down. So you're not going to see the detriment of it right away from the bone standpoint. But from the standpoint of your health, oh, you probably will start getting into candida. And you go, wait a minute, how does candida relate to it? Well, you see, because it removes the mineral content, and there are other frequency type issues bad about that water, so it tends to attract fungus. So fungus comes into your body, and if you don't believe me, and you got an old reverse osmosis tank, you know, those storage tanks, pull it out, make sure you don't have white pants on or white anything on, drill a hole in that tank, and you'll see black color water ejecting from the tank because black fungus grows in the tank. Now, people say, oh, that, you know, hey, just look with your eyes. Don't even just listen to me. Look with your eyes. When you get a reverse osmosis system, you got these pre-filters, a carbon filter, and then finally you have this great big reverse osmosis membrane. It dumps 4 to 12 gallons of water down the drain while it gives you 1 gallon of water. So it's a very expensive system. And they say, oh, these systems only do 4 gallons a minute. Yeah, that's when they're new. But as they get older, they waste more water, waste more water. This is just part of physics, okay? So if you look at the design of a reverse osmosis, always pre-filter, carbon filter, reverse osmosis system, the tank, you would think after the tank, it should just go straight up to the faucet. But oh no, they got a nice, decent size carbon block filter, also called as a taste filter. Nice PR, but it's actually a real true statement because the fungus tastes bitter. So you absolutely need that carbon block filter to block the fungus so you don't taste it, number one. And number two, certainly they don't want you to see that black fungus. And that's why you can't even just put carbon granule filters there. You got to put a carbon block filter there because you need that fineness to block the fungus because they're really small. So that's just something you can observe, right? You don't have to believe me, just go look, right? So we now come now. Reverse osmosis also is the #1 most common water sold in the bottled water. Now remember, we just talked about that this thing has no minerals. So the mineral that that bottled water has is the plastic bottle itself. So it's going to draw and leach the minerals out of the plastic bottle, and you get to drink it. Oh, don't worry. Plastic particles is just going to give you a little female estrogen mimicking material. If you're a guy, not so good. If it's a girl, not so good either. In either case, it messes with your body's hormonal balancing system, right? And I could really talk about hormones. That'll be like a 10-hour lecture all on itself.
Maybe we'll do another one.
Okay. And so I do want to stop here because people are going to, is there any bottled water that's actually good? Okay, I at least want to leave them with something to take home that you can do something like right now. Since 99% of the bottled waters are reverse osmosis water, what are the 0.011% of bottled waters that are not? Now, the only ones that I know that you can commonly get in America, there's more than these, but would be the Mountain Valley spring water. That's in glass, so at least you eliminate the plastic, and it is not reverse osmosis water. So you got 2 points in that one bottle.
And they do make some of them in plastic now.
Yeah, they do that, yeah. Unfortunately.
The glass is better, definitely. It actually tastes different when you...
Yes, because it's wholesome water, yeah. Okay? And it's got minerals in it. Yeah. So then the other two bottles of water are not American water. One is Evian and one is Volvic. And they are also not reverse osmosis water, but they are definitely in plastic bottles. Fiji used to be one of the better tasting waters, and it's probably still is. At one point, they said they added fluoride. They quickly took that off.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they took it out.
And at least PR-wise, they took it out. Did they really take it out? I don't know, because in the Fiji Islands, there is no fluoride in those areas. I lived in Asia, so I know fluoride is not naturally occurring. So if there's fluoride in that water, they have to actually add it to it. Mm-hmm. And so I think because as soon as they mentioned at once that they were adding to it, that probably cost them a whole bunch of sales because people got really mad and quit buying it. Right, and I'm sure they got hit on that. So they probably took it out. I would, if I was them, I would take it out immediately and deny that it ever happened, you know? So I think Fiji water is still good.
What about, do you know about Aquapana? That's an Italian brand.
Don't know about that one. Can't make a comment.
I think that one might be good, and it comes in glass bottles.
Oh, that's good. Well, say that name again.
Aquapana. Hold on, I just looked it up because I used to drink that. ACQUA. Aqua. Aqua is spelled with an AC. Pana. PANNA. Okay. And then what do you think about Pellegrino?
Okay, this is a very good subject. If you talk to the French, they'll tell you we understand mineral water is for fun. It's not healthy water to drink. We will drink Pellegrino for celebration times, a glass every couple months. No big deal. That's the French. Here in America, we think it's great water and drink lots of it. And I got my, what I call severe reality adjustment one day. I went to a live blood analysis, and me and my wife both did blood samples. And I'm about 7 years older than my wife. And her blood cells had free radical damage throughout the whole slide. It was like, oh my goodness. And she's basically a pretty healthy person, so she should definitely not have that there. And we eat the same food. So why would she have so many free radical damage on her red blood cells? And we traced back to mineral water. And she would drink 2 quarts per week. And I would drink 1 glass per every 1 or 2 months. It's the carbolic acid in the bubbles that cause the free radical damage, the carbolic acid.
So that would be any carbonated water.
Correct.
Yeah. And
of course, those of you who would love to drink sodas, there's a lesson there, because you do.
Well, seltzer,
same.
Doesn't have any sugar in it, I thought was maybe a better choice for people that when we're trying to get them off soda, but I guess it's not.
No, not at all. It might be good for calming a tummy down temporarily. That's just fine. But as a standard thing to drink, no, not fine at all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So okay, that covers some of the basics of water. Okay, we covered reverse osmosis, distilled. Now the last one, I'm going to say for the last, of course, about the fluoride issue. But before that, I'm going to talk about alkaline water a little bit. Okay. Now, alkaline water is basically you have an electrode. One ejects positive, one ejects negative. And then you split the water with a membrane in between. And one side you get alkaline water, and the other side you get acid water. In a real machine, like a 1950, 1960 design alkaline water machine, they're in little tanks. They take between 15 minutes to as much as 30 to 1 hour processing time to make real alkaline water. Now, since the late 1970s, early 1980s, we start to have this hook up to the faucet and instant alkaline water and instant acid water. Think about water just like charging your battery. If your battery dies, you can get somebody to jumpstart it, and
guys,
you can jumpstart your car, but your battery is still not good, right? It still needs that gentle trickle charge into the water or into the battery acid in order to regain the charge. Well, this holds true with water as well. You cannot just go pow. With a good hard zap, you'll get the pH reading immediately, but you won't get all the other properties in which you're getting with alkaline water. Now, alkaline water is kind of a misnomer because we really don't care about the pH at all. Right? We don't care about the pH. Right? And yet the name alkaline water is what everybody's chasing after, the high pH water. We don't care. It's useless. Okay? The pH does not do anything for us. Let me get that really clear. It doesn't do anything for us. Now, what real alkaline water will do for us is when you process the water for 15 to 30 minutes minimum, you get micro-clustered water. That's number one benefit, because this water is not just H2O, but H2O clumps, many, many clumps. And depending how many clumps, the water molecule may be quite big or quite small. When you run it through a long duration of electrical charging, you will end up with a high percentage of water clusters breaking up, and they can get as much as 50% or so smaller than its original size. Okay? Now the small water now can actually weave between the cells and the tissues and actually get into the cells. That's step one. That's why we get alkaline water. The step two is that when you charge it for this amount of time, it has a high negative potential. We call it ORP, oxidation reduction potential. It's measured in millivolts. Right? 1 volt is 1,000 millivolts. So it's a negative millivolt. So a real good machine will give you between 400 negative millivolts to as much as 600 negative millivolts. Now, this negative millivolts is very important because as this water goes into your body's, relatively speaking, positive heavy metals, right? You don't have metal chunks in the body, which is negative, but you have metal oxide, like mercury oxide, zinc oxide. You know, you got an oxide to it, so there's a positiveness to it. So this negative charge comes in, it makes those positive heavy metals, acid waste, less positive, and thus be easily dumped out of the body.
So it's detoxing bad metals.
Correct.
But what about minerals? Don't they have a lot of minerals have positive charges also, right?
That's true. Yes, it does. And if you have excess minerals or wrong kind of minerals, it will get the body to flush. The body still has regulatory systems to adjust what does it want to dump. It still has its choice. So it's negative charge, microclustered water. That's why you're drinking alkaline water. Now, this is unstable water. This is very important to remember. Because it's unstable, it only lasts, back in the days when they had no cell phones, it would last 10 days. Then when cell phones started to come in, they would last about 3 days. And now you put them in a glass jar in the refrigerator with a sealed jug. They barely last 3 days. And I haven't tested too much with the 5G systems that are coming out, which is 10 to the 18th power, more powerful than 2, 3, 4Gs add together. So this is...
So you're saying the dirty electromagnetic fields from our cell phones are actually damaging, they're making the water more unstable.
Correct. Remember, the water is negative and the 5G is going to be dumping positive.
Okay.
So our body...
Even 4G does that.
2Gs, 3G, 4Gs. Okay. We were complaining back in the 2G time, which everybody just thought we were nuts, that, you know, all these microscopic soil-based microorganisms, these small little creatures in the water that you can't see with your naked eyes, they started to be missing in tens of thousands of them. And then as time went on, people started, oh, you know, the frogs are missing. Yo, guys, the lower ecology has been wiped out. Of course, the higher column of ecology, the frogs, have no food. So they're going to be going missing. Right? So it's a serious issue. And that's all I'm going to really touch upon it, but it's a serious issue. So
well, we're going to do another video on that, definitely.
Okay. So in water filtration systems, you have to take care of the minerals should not be taken out of the water. That's number one. Number two, if you add minerals back, which a lot of the reverse osmosis companies are starting to learn that, oh, our water really is, number one, acid, right? Because you take out the alkaline water, you're going to end up as an acid water. So I've had reverse osmosis cells being, oh, no, it's pH 7, it's neutral. And I will whip out my pH meter and go, here, you measure your water. They go, oh, it's acid. So reverse osmosis will have any place from 5 pH to 6.4 pH. The more money you spend to buy a really expensive reverse osmosis system, the closer it will be down to the 5 pH side. Now, those of you who don't know chemistry that well, I'm going to explain something that most people don't recognize. Between 5 and 6 pH, there's 10 folds different. Between 5 and 7, there's 100 folds different. Between 5 and 8, there's 1,000 folds different. Okay? So pH is a inverted logarithmic scale. So it is not linear, right? It's like this. Right? So each knot. So if you're supposed to be drinking 7.5 pH water and you're drinking 5.5 pH water, 5 and 6 is 10, 5 and 7 is 100. So you're drinking 100 times 2 acidic water. I'd like to point that out, not a small mistake. It's a big mistake, okay? So the immediate thing that you can see is lack of energy, feeling tired, aging process goes quicker, your skin will not maintain its elasticity, so your aging process, your looks are gonna look older, quicker, faster, okay? And then as the body, since it's an acidic water, as body gets more and more acidic, it then promotes old age disease, such as diabetes, cancer. Just start putting down the rest of the list on down there. Anything that pertains to old age disease is going to be enhanced, accelerated. Okay? So it's, people know that water is important, but what they don't know is how much the environment has changed this simple thing called water into a very complex issue, and that water is truly the key to good health. So now I'm going to divert to...
Let me just, before you move on. So the correct pH should be 7.5.
7.5 in that range.
Okay. So what about, I have patients that are drinking 9, you know, alkaline at 9.
From bottles and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or from droppers of liquids? Okay, now that's...
They're buying, yeah, there's alkaline water readily available in stores.
Right.
Now, right?
And you may have heard other physicians and health practitioners say, don't drink alkaline water. It will neutralize your stomach acid. That's a true statement.
It's true.
It's true.
And then also...
Now, the alkaline water that I sell, the unstable alkaline water, which you have to make it yourself and drink it within the first 3 days, that unstable alkaline water will not mess around with you, because as soon as you touch that thing to your lip, the negative charge discharges, the microcluster water goes down, the pH doesn't matter, it neutralizes, so it goes down from here on down, basically 7. Because
and that water, the water that you're talking about is much more hydrating, right? It's more readily.
Oh yes, very, very much so. And
that's a big problem.
It's a very big problem.
Yeah.
And you may, as a physician, notice that you're telling a patient, drink more water. And they come back to you and you test them and they're not hydrated.
They're still dehydrated. Yep.
And then you go, well, didn't I not tell you to drink some more water? Come on. And they go, but I am, doc. I've been drinking a gallon a day. And yet you test them, they're still dehydrated. So they're not lying to you. So why are they still dehydrated? Well, it has to do with frequencies. And of course, when we talk about cell phone towers, microwaves, right, sitting in front of a computer, we're talking about frequencies. We're not talking about electronics, okay? And water, since our bodies are 60, 70, 80% water, water is the easiest thing to put a signature or message on it. And to think of water as like I used to describe this as like a cassette tape, right? It's just like a little iron dioxide or whatever, chromium dioxide that they have on the cassette tapes. Well, you can put digital signals on there, you can put music on there, you can put your vocal voices on there, right? It's just a media that will hold a signature or a signal. Well, the water is the same way. You can actually put a signature onto the water. Now you can good signatures on it. You can put bad signatures on it. Like a good example, which I've seen a lot of high school kids do this example, and they take reverse osmosis water, then they microwave it for a couple minutes. So reverse osmosis is bad by itself, but you microwave it. It's really bad now. You take that water and you start watering plants. You'll find that the plants will be wilter and die. Some seeds will not germinate in that water. So that's just like a little hint. People says, well, I only heat my coffee. That's the reverse osmosis water plus microwave. Really not good. I mean, plants don't lie. If you feed the plants with a water that they refuse to germinate or they roll over and die on you, hey, it's not rocket science. Look with your eyes. There's something wrong here, right? Think for yourself, okay? Observation, right? No matter what the PR is. And so if you drink a water and you always are drinking like a gallon or close to the gallon and you're still dehydrated, well, there's something wrong with your water. Anyway.
That's more and more common. I find more and more of my patients having trouble getting hydrated. So
right.
It's one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on. So we'll get to, before we're done, we'll get to what is the best water to drink. Yeah.
And also, just for people to have a little positiveness and not get all negative about this, there are equipment that we can add on to water filtration devices to address the 5G issue, to bring back the hydration properties back to water. These equipment do not take out pollution or anything. That's the filters. The filters will take out the pollution. But once you take out the filter, if the water still doesn't hydrate you, yeah, you're still going to get the doctor and you're still going to get the low energy going, it's still not working, right? So you really have to cover a broader spectrum of issues when you create a filter.
Right.
So I wanted to go back to the fluoride. And again, something of just common sense. They say that fluoride makes your teeth harder. It's not true, but let's assume that it is true, okay, just for argument's sake. The surface of your teeth is the hardest object in your entire body. And if fluoride can harden the hardest surface of of your body, can it not harden your bones? Can it not harden your organs? And if it hardens, for example, your thyroid gland, are you not going to have thyroid problems? Or maybe diabetes problems, right? What is diabetes? The islands of Langer's in your pancreas get kind of calcified. They get kind of hard. They kind of not do their job. Okay? This is not rocket science. It's very simple. Just observe. There's a cause and effect. Right? Let's take a look at history. History is a great teacher if you bother to listen to her. So way back in the Second World War, good old Mr. Adolf Hitler put fluoride in the German concentration camps. Now we know for sure he was very concerned of the Jews and their teeth. Not. So why would he be so busy trying to put fluoridation in the water if it's so good? Being Mr. Suppressive person, badass, he obviously didn't want the Jews to escape from the German concentration camp. He wanted to dumb them down, make them more docile. I call fluoride or Prozac, which is a psychiatric antidepressant drug, which is fluoride, 94% fluoride, or fluoxetine, to be more specific. Fluoxetine is pure pharmaceutical grade fluoride. And here's the punchline. It's roughly speaking, depending who you would talk to, between 3,000 and 6,000 times less toxic, I said less, right? Not more. Less toxic than the fluoride they add to our drinking water. Because the fluoride they add to our drinking water is industrial waste, which has a little heavy metal of every type, from arsenic, which is the one that is a catalyst that really makes the fluoride work even better. Unfortunately, it's not a good thing. And it may have gold, tin, zinc, copper, and all sorts of other. It's trash. It's called hydrofluorisilicic acid. That's what they actually add to our drinking water. And those of you who live in Washington, Oregon, and the west corner of the United States, you guys may have not hydrofluorisilicic acid, but you'll be using sodium fluoride. They just choose to use a different form of trash, still trash. Okay, so understand that history, these wicked people. Who's the second person that put fluoride in the water? Can you guess? Comparable to Hitler.
Stalin.
Good, jackpot. So he put in his concentration camps. And who's the third person who put it in their drinking water? Uncle Sam.
I was going to say someone here.
Yeah, Uncle Sam. Okay, we don't really know precisely how probably it is, but we won't get into too deep of political stuff, right, off the subject of water here. Right. But Uncle Sam was the third person to put in the drinking water. Now let's continue to look at the political side of it. In Europe, roughly speaking, 92, 97, someplace in that range of countries reject and ban fluoridation of the water. There's only Great Britain, Ireland, and about 3% of the Spanish cities still have fluoridation. Now, when UK wants to ship their food out to the EU, they actually have to have certified that they have fluoride-free water that was used to make those foods, or the EU will reject the canned foods that get shipped.
Wow.
Right? So if this is occurring, what are the statistics of the United States? When I started talking about fluoride some 30 years ago, it was back in 64, 68% of the cities in the United States was adding fluoride to the water. And there were lots of fights in California. There were cities pushing fluoride, banning fluoride in the city waters. And today, at the year 2200, 2020, 21, we have 74 going to 78% cities that have now fluoridation. So the numbers have definitely significantly gone up. And if you don't want to lower your IQ, and I have articles from Harvard University that shows that when you drink city water with fluoride in it, you can lower your IQ by 7 points. And if there is some arsenic, which most water generally has some because it comes part of the contamination was the fluoride, you can lower your IQ by 12 points. Now you realize the average person is supposed to have 100 points of IQ. You take 7 to 12 points, that's roughly speaking, making yourself 10% dumber, less intelligent, however you want to spell it.
Mm-hmm. I say stupider, yes.
Stupider, okay.
That's what this whole channel is about, right? We can see it in real time happening.
Right, and I want people to just think with these numbers because people say, oh, you make yourself 7 points. But it's like 10% of your IQ lowering. It makes you more susceptible to be fooled.
Yes.
You cannot observe truth.
Exactly.
Right? That's what that really spells to be.
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
People can lie to you and you can be fooled easily. That's what that means, okay? So this is why I'm very much focused in providing the best kind of water. And I guess this is as good a time as any other time. It's just like, as an inventor and as a designer, a lot of times designers who work for a company, they will tell you, here's the budget. I want you to design a filter within this budget because we need to make X amount of money and we want to sell it on X amount of price tag. So make me a filter that will be fulfilled in this parameters. And unfortunately, when it comes to fluoride and arsenic and some of the things which we have not touched about, which is like chloramines, which is, those who don't know what chloramines is, that's every single city has it. It's created by the city pouring chlorine into the water, 24 inches down the pipe. They start injecting ammonia. So it's roughly mixed together. So it's not a very nice homogenized mixture. And you end up with chloramines. And then when you talk to them, they say, we're trying to make monochloramines. Now, notice I use the word trying to make. It doesn't mean they are making chloramines that are monochloramines, which are those less form of a toxic chloramine. They're trying. So what are they not trying to make? And then you have dichloramines and trichloramines. And they're toxic and they taste pretty bad. Okay. And that's throughout the whole city. So that's another item that is more directly harmful to your kidneys than fluoride is, because fluoride takes a lifetime to thin your bones down, at least 10, 20 years to mess up your thyroid glands. But chloramines can hit your kidneys more rapidly, and then you have more problems. And then, of course, the chiropractor is going like, oh, your lower back is out again. Weakened kidneys, guys. Right? And you're just seeing the bones popping out as a referred pain. Right? So you can talk about on that subject way better than I can. So I'm just pointing out sources of problems, right? And it's while we're at that, this is particularly pointed out to the younger generation who loves tattoos. When you get this beautiful tattoo across your L3, L4 on your back, especially for your young girls, it's right across your meridians, right, of your kidneys, your liver. And if you get sick after you get a nice, pretty tattoo, don't think too far. What is the tattoo ink made out of? The best tattoo inks that are sun fade proof are the same wonderful inks that they use for classical car paints. It's the highest level of lead possible to have that beautiful sun fade resistance properties. So those few people who know it's toxin, they use henna, that's way better. But that doesn't change the factor that there's thousands of needles being used to poke the ink into your skin, and it may hit many times the meridians that control your kidneys, your liver, your spleen. And if you get sick, really sick, and stay sick, look at the expensive tattoos that you just received.
That goes for piercings as well.
Oh, yes.
So even without the ink, piercings and meridians, we find this all the time in patients. Tattoos and piercings, yes. As an aside, yes.
Yes. I think piercings are even worse because some of them are much bigger holes.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So yeah, tattoos and piercings. This can wreck your whole life, right?
Sure.
And you know, they just don't give you any warning. The FDA says they're grown-ups, and it's not really food, so we don't regulate it. So it's just up to you. And of course, it's a rough scene. And of course, tattoos is all that peer pressure that everybody's supposed to have a tattoo, blah, blah, blah. If you like your body and you like your health, don't get a tattoo. You know, it's bad news. So would you inject yourself normally with lead?
Right.
You would understand. No. Well, when you get a tattoo, you're going to be injecting lead to greater or lesser quantities, right? The shittier tattoo inks that fade a little bit just have less lead. Not no lead, less lead, okay?
Right.
It's still lead. All right, you had some other questions you wanted to ask me.
Yeah, so I understand that the filter that you built, and we'll put a link to your website. Your website is called refreshingcleanwater.com.
Correct.
So I'll put a link to it on the video.
Thanks.
And there's a lot of information on there. And Winston does actually custom build filters as well. If you are interested, you can look at his website. But let's say for people who, whatever reason, they can't get a filter, or we have many people that listen to this channel that are not in the US. So I'm assuming that you're not going to build a filter for somebody in, in South Africa or New Zealand, right? You're just.
I have.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. So,
the shipping charges was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I have.
That's true. You have to be wealthy to do that.
Absolutely.
What would you recommend that people could do today, this moment, right now, to improve the quality of water they're drinking until such time as they can get in touch with you maybe and get one of your filters?
Okay, as far as, let's get down from the worst things that give you the most immediate detrimental effects, okay? If you're in the third world countries, you should know, or if you're not in the third countries, but you have bacteria problems in the water, of course, make sure you boil the water. Now, let's clear the word boil. Okay, most people think as soon as the fire makes the kettle whistle, that means it's boiled. And if you have that as a definition, I like to point out that is a wrong definition for boiling water, okay? Boiling water means you start out with a kettle of a gallon of water, you bring it to a full boil, then you set the clock for 15 to 20 minutes, and you will continue to boil it at a high boil for 15 to 20 minutes. That's what it takes to really kill bad boys like TB, dysentery. It takes that kind of volume and time because these particular creatures can morph themselves from a bacteria into something like a fungus. And they don't talk much about it in school, but in surgeries and hospitals, we all know that dry heat sterilization is not quite good. It's not good enough. It doesn't quite do the job. We have to use high steam distilling pressure to clean the instruments, right? Because these things can morph from one species to a sort of a different kind of a shape. And people may confuse them. Well, that looks like a fungus, but it was a bacteria, but they can morph. That's a whole different subject I will not touch today. But to understand that that's what it takes to clean water, just on the bacteria sort of standpoint. So 15 to 20 minutes, full boil. That's boiled water. As a matter of fact, in China, when we go to restaurants, we usually say, especially go in Taiwan particularly, they would say, give me a cup of boiled ice water. So it sounds kind of silly, but that's the phrase. 冰开水, ice boiled water. So, and everybody knows that you have to have boiled water or you're going to get dysentery. So it's very much of an issue. So that's number one. Number two, size matters. The bigger the water filter is, the more time the water has time to contact the material, in which the material has time to pull out the toxins out of the water. So those little teeny carbon filters that are screwed onto the faucets are basically useless. They're window decorations. They make the water taste a little bit better, but as far as any volume of volatile organic compounds, this will be like the solvents, gasoline, jet fuel, right? Volatile organic compounds. A little teeny weeny filter is not going to take it out. Okay, come on, let's be practical. Okay, so for a countertop, you should get at least a carbon block filter. and it better be at least 12 inches tall, 4 inches in diameter. So it at least has some time to hold the water back to actually take adequate amount of junk out of the water so that that water comes out as a good water. So if you have these little thin cartridges, only about an inch thick, that's better than a 2-inch cartridge, but it's really not adequate, right? You need bulk. Right? For whole homes, you need things that are like 48, 54 inches tall, 9 to 10 inches in diameter, block of carbon granules, preferably something that would have multiple different kinds of carbon, just so you have a reality. Coconut charcoal be the cheap. You'll have the bone charcoal, okay? And there are other kinds of charcoals that just because some are cheap charcoals doesn't mean you don't use them. They take certain spectrums of toxins out. The more expensive one takes a different spectrum of things out. So yes, they slightly overlap, but you need both. You can't just have one. And you preferably have 2 or 3 different kinds to cover the full spectrum of things that you really need to take out. So when you buy water filters, number one, make sure it's big. And number two, the price tag is going to be gradiently higher and higher and higher. That's one of the reasons I don't run into anybody copying my filters, is because they're very big. They cost a lot. So we shave our profit margin in order for people still be able to afford it. But it's one of those things that the bigger the filter is, the more material you have to put in, the heavier it is, the more costly it is. It's just the economics of it all. In third world countries, they will suggest using chlorine, which is cheap to kill and disinfect things. But remember, there's also other choices, such as hydrogen peroxide. That's a very good choice to kill off bacteria. You can also, nowadays, there's corona discharge ozone machines. And you can use these ozone machines to make hydrogen peroxide. So the ozone goes in the water and makes hydrogen peroxide. And especially for the third world country, you can take an ozone machine, and they have nano bubblers. They're actually not nano, really, but they're kind of macro bubbles. And that's still good enough. And they're not too expensive. So you can have an ozone machine, a nano bubbler, which really shatters the hydrogen peroxide or the O3, the ozone particles, really, really small. And it really increases the efficiency of that water being cleansed and gives you a good healthy. And then you can carbon filter it again, because if you put a little bit too much ozone in there, then you can still get there because it's, again, disinfectant, right? But the carbon filter will clean it out, and it'll also give you high quality water. I mean, you can get really decently high quality water. So those are probably the cheapest, the most simplest ways for people across the world to apply.
Great. And then if you're in this country, I don't think Mountain Valley Spring is sold anywhere but the US, I'm guessing.
Yes, and not every place too. It's kind of like,
it's hard
starts
to get
from Arkansas and goes up on both sides of the state, and the Midwest, forget it. They can't get it.
Well, we'll put the names of the waters that we discussed, that Mountain Valley Spring, Volvic, Aquapana, and then there was one other that you mentioned.
Maybe Evian and possibly Fiji.
Right. So those, if you're not able to get a filter, or do it yourself, at least if you have to grab water from a store. From what I understand, when water, even with the Mountain Valley Spring, correct me if I'm wrong, when you take water out of a spring, when it's moving in the spring, it is the molecules are lining up correctly when it's in motion. But once it's sitting for a little while, the molecules, it's what the difference between structured molecules and unstructured.
Yeah,
right?
That is correct. A common word is stale. The water goes stale.
Okay.
So it smells and tastes different, and it opens the doors to disease to now inhabit that water. So it's a frequency change, the structure got changed. There's a whole bunch of things that got changed, but the water being said, that also holds true when the water gets routed into our city pipes, right? Our city pipes have 90-degree angles. They're not good, but we have to make 90-degree angles. You can't build water structures without 90-degree angles. So our water filtration systems, we have a water conditioner that specifically reconditions all of these things that have gone wrong. So we correct everything. And we do about a 94% correction. So the water, after flowing through our equipment, it starts cleaning out all the pipes in the house. As a matter of fact, we will refuse to install our equipment in any house that's older than 1950. So if you have an original piping older than 1950, I will not put it in there because it'll clean out all the calcium, magnesium deposits, which is what's holding the pipe together. Right. And they will have rain inside of the house.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah. So that actually corrects the structure of the water, so it makes it healthier, and especially for farmers, especially for ranchers, the health of the grass, the health of the chickens and the cows, the not having to pay veterinarians bills, which the veterinarians probably don't like me for that because they'll lose all kinds of business. But you know, it gives the bottom line a very important, because a vet bill on a ranch is pretty scary. They can put him out of business very easily. So handling the water, this is a one-time fee, and you've handled it for the rest of your life for the whole farm. You know,
so that's a great point. We had a holistic vet on this channel, and he stresses the importance of he takes care of dogs and cats, and he's drilled that into me, you know, that you have to give your pets the right kind of water. So that makes a lot of sense. The bottom line is that even if you have to pay for an expensive filter to get the best water, it's an investment, first of all, in your body, in your health for the rest of your life. It's critically important. And secondly, if you are a rancher or farmer or have animals, then yes, you're right. In the long run, it will save you money. And medical bills are the #1 cause of bankruptcy, at least in the United States. So
yes,
it is a wise investment if you're able to do it. All right. Well, we've been talking for an hour now, and I know most people's attention span don't hold that long. So we'll end here unless there's anything else important that you wanted to mention.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, like the water conditioners, I just recently cleaned a couple ponds up. This is in Florida. Normally they're about 2-foot visibility. That's considered quite clean for Florida. And after 3 weeks of applications for my various different technologies, microbial and the water structuring things, we have 10 to 14 feet of visibility in those ponds. And all the sludge in the bottom starts to disappear. Okay? So this is all part of water technology that does exist. And I just want to let people know that just like these equipment can help your personal health become better, so can you do it for your chickens, your cows, and your ponds and your rivers as well.
And the whole planet eventually, right?
Yes, and this technology applies to the ocean, the salt water. Yes, still the same technology. And when you get down to the base,
thank you for helping clean up our water. And you know, you're probably one of the few people that really have this much expertise on it. And you know, the hope would be that there comes a day where it's very affordable to get access to good quality water, because that should be a, you know, it's a human right, kind of.
It is. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, clean water, clean air, clean food, things that are not easy to get right now.
And right. I believe our future is coming with this. I have a lot of faith, in spite of all the politics. I still have a lot of faith that we're going to have a very beautiful future coming up.
I do too. I do too. Thank you so much, Winston. We'll have you back on. we'll have you back on to talk about 5G. We might want to talk about, we'll see what people want to hear from you about. Definitely, we know that people are interested in the topic of 5G though. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. And we will see you again soon. If you have not yet had a chance to hit subscribe, please do that. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit like, because it actually, from an algorithm perspective, helps more people to find the video. And also, most importantly, if you think that you know somebody that would benefit from this information, please share it. And we will see you guys all again very soon. Be well.